Minister of Culture for the Republic of Slovenia and coordinator of Levica, and Walter Baier, President and Spitzenkandidat of the Party of the European Left for the upcoming European elections. We will start the press conference with a statement from both people on stage, and then we will take questions. We will start first with the questions in English, and then we will take questions in Slovenian.
Spoštovane obiskovalke in obiskovalci, predstavniki uredništev, novinarke in novinarji, pozdravljeni, dobrodošli na novinarski konferenci ob začetku evropske kampanje Evropske levice. V uvodni izjavi bosta podala Walter Baier, predsednik Evropske levice, in njen spitzenkandidat na prihajajočih volitvah, ter Asta Vrečko, koordinatorica levice. Začeli bomo z njunima uvodnima predstavitvama oziroma izjavama, potem bomo prešli na novinarska vprašanja, povabili vas bomo seveda, da postavite svoje, začeli bomo z angleškimi, zaključili s slovenskimi domačimi novinarji, pri čemer pa domače novinarke in novinarje pozovem, da se omejimo tematsko na torej evropske volitve, evropske teme, prihajajoče volitve, kandidature in tako naprej. Zdaj pa bi najprej kar povabil našega gosta, Walterja Baierja, spitzenkandidata k uvodni izjavi. Asta Vrečko, izvoli.
Greetings everybody, pozdravljeni, tovariši, tovarišice, spoštovani novinari, dear journalists across EU, welcome here. We are very happy that today we have ended today's discussion in the Council of European Left. Now I will switch to Slovenian, since being the Minister of Culture and as an advocate of equal languages in the EU, we will speak in our representative languages. Hvala lepa vsem, da ste tukaj. Nadaljevala bom torej v slovenščini. Končali smo dvodnevno zasedanje vodstva Evropske levice, kjer smo imeli zelo pomembne in zanimive pogovore. Sprejeli smo v prvi vrsti program Evropske levice, na katerem bomo številne stranke Evropske unije, za katerim stojimo, in ga bomo skupaj enotno zagovarjali na evropskih volitvah junija tega leta. Naš program in temeljna izhodišča so zelo podobna in zaradi tega smo skupaj prišli do ključnih tem, ki jih bomo zagovarjali po celotni Evropi. Te teme temeljijo na solidarnosti, enakosti in zavezanosti k zelenemu prehodu. Naše vrednote so pravičnost, solidarnost, tovariškost. Upiramo se kapitalizmu, ki izkorišča tako ljudi kot naravo, in skupaj verjamemo, da lahko samo na temeljih trajnostnega razvoja, na temeljnost pravičnosti za vse, odpravi diskriminacije in uporu proti vzponu skrajno desnim politikam zgradimo enotno in pa solidarno Evropo. In v teh pogovorih, ki smo jih imeli tukaj v teh 2 dneh, smo si še enkrat potrdili, da lahko samo skupaj vse stranke, ki smo zavezane levi misli, vrednotam, nastopimo enotno in samo skupaj spremenimo in dosežemo družbeno transformacijo, kateri smo zavezani. Zato sem tudi zelo vesela, da smo potrdili danes našega predsednika Walterja Baierja za spitzenkandidata, torej vodilnega kandidata Evropske levice na prihajajočih volitvah. Congratulations, dear Walter.
Thank you very much.
So I will have the word to you.
Thank you very much. I enjoy very much being here in this wonderful city of Ljubljana, and at the same time I must apologize that I cannot address you in your language. As you can easily hear from my English, I am an Austrian, I am a neighbor. I feel very much honored by the fact that I was today elected Spitzenkandidat, top candidate of the Party of the European Left for the forthcoming European elections. I want to thank my colleagues, my comrades, the parties of the European Left which placed this trust in me. And I want particularly thank those colleagues who were involved in the drafting of the political manifesto, which we have adopted unanimously in the course of today's meeting. I don't want to go now into the details of the manifesto because it will be presented during the kickoff event, which will start in approximately 1 hour. I only want to say one thing. They say Europe is far from the people. We say Europe must be reclaimed by the people, and that is what our campaign will be about. We want to speak about the problems of the ordinary people, about the right for decent, affordable housing, about cost of living, about access to public services. All these are the issues which we compiled in our political manifesto and which we want to put in the center of our campaign. We will have a positive campaign. We will not talk so much about what we don't like. We want to talk about that, what we want to achieve with the people. And having said all this, I want simply say that we are now open for any questions you may have, and hopefully you will also stay with us for the beautiful event which was prepared by our comrades here in Slovenia. Thank you for being at this press conference and for your interest.
Thank you very much, Walter. Hvala lepa, Asta. The floor will now be given to the journalists. First, English-speaking Euronews. Aida is here. The microphone.
Hi, Aida Sanchez, Euronews. I have a couple of questions for you. The left comes to these elections highly divided and is expected to lose some support while far-right is on the rise. What do you think the group needs to do to convince more people? And then another question that's more specific for you or for the whole Spitzenkandidat process. If I'm not mistaken, you've never been an MEP, you won't run in any national list for the elections, and you're practically unknown in Brussels. Does the left still believe in the Spitzenkandidat process? And that's it. Thanks.
Yes, we are very much in favor of advancing democracy on the European level, which is why we believe in the Spitzenkandidat process. We want to see the European Parliament vested with more rights. We want the European Parliament indeed controlling and running the European Union. What concerns the rise of the far right, I believe that there are many reasons which need to be considered if you want to explain this phenomenon. But one thing seems to me of particular importance. People are frustrated, disappointed by the politics for which the ruling parties have the responsibility. They don't provide decent living conditions for large layers of the society. They don't provide security, and that's why people go to the right. We want to formulate an alternative which looks forward, which is not connected with hatred. We want a social and a solidaristic alternative in Europe.
A follow-up on the question of the Spitzenkandidat. What was then the reason for choosing someone that has not been an MEP, that will probably not be an MEP later?
Well, first of all, Spitzenkandidat refers to the position of the President of the European Commission. And that means that you will mainly deal with general politics of the European Union. And secondly, frankly speaking, Europe is not only Brussels. Europe is 27 nations, and it is hundreds of cities, and it is millions of citizens. And the European left and the Spitzenkandidat wants to be the voice of these people, of which the voices are very rarely heard in Brussels.
Thank you very much. Now we will give the floor to the journalists joining us online. Guillaume, to you.
Okay, could you please raise your hands if you have questions, the ones on Zoom? We may start with Thomas Manjan from Agence Europe.
Yes, do you hear?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So Thomas Mangin, Agence Europe. I just have a little question because now the far right is kind of exploding around the EU, and I just wanted to know, how do you see the composition of the next European Parliament? Thank you.
Well, that will depend on the choices of the voters, but generally we expect a rise of the far-right parties, including the neo-fascist parties. We expect a shift to the right in the European Parliament, and we do not believe that this is in the interest of the European people, so we will try to give a strong fight against the far-right, not only in the sense that we want to unite with all progressive and democratic forces against the rise of the far right. We want to be an alternative which raises the material and the social interests of the European people. And we think that in being heard as a voice which articulates the interests of the European people, we can be an alternative for many of them not to vote for parties of the far right.
Okay, for technical questions, if you could turn your video on, it will be easier because then I can see who's there. We pass to the next question. We may go to Max Griera from Euractiv. It's not here, I cannot see. Okay, we move to Urška Jereb. Just online following the... we move to Uwe Sattler, which is the case. Wait. No. And to Robert Petrovic. No questions. And well, finally to no. And okay, so we can move to the questions here. And if you have any questions, you are free to ask at any moment.
Ok, torej, najlepša hvala. Novinarji slovenskih medijev, ki ste prisotni z dvigom roke, boste prejeli mikrofon.
Hello, my name is Adrian Bakic from Slovenian Public Broadcaster. Mr. Baier, now you're the leading candidate of the European left. Currently, the European left is the smallest political group in the European Parliament. What would be, for you, the success for your group for the European left at the upcoming European elections? What do you expect now?
Well, we want to gain more seats than we currently have, and hopefully will become not the smallest group in the European Parliament, but have a better position than we have now. The polls are at the moment ambiguous. In some polls, we are getting the same number of seats that we have right now. In some polls, we have more of them. There are a couple of countries in which we can expect gains of seats. So we are looking forward to a good result in the European elections and hopefully to a stronger group in the European Parliament than we currently have.
Hvala lepa. Naslednje vprašanje. Imamo kakšno roko? Zadaj, Matej.
Pozdravljeni, Žiga Bonča, 24 ur. Pa še vprašanje za koordinatorico Slovenske levice. Vse javnomnenjske ankete kažejo na neko krepitev desnice v Sloveniji. Zakaj menite oziroma ali menite, da lahko nek glas solidarnosti vas popelje do prvega evropskega stolčka? Hvala.
V Levici vsekakor gremo na te volitve optimistično. Prvič smo v vladi in naša 3 ministrstva so do zdaj pokazala, kaj pomeni levica, kako sprejemamo in pripravljamo ukrepe za izboljšanje življenja ljudi. Res je, po Evropi, tudi v Sloveniji se krepi glas skrajne desnice in krepijo se stvari, kot so lažne novice, tudi razne manipulacije, zavajanja, kazanje prstov na migrante in pa manjšine za vse probleme, v katerem smo se znašli v Evropi zaradi kapitalizma, požrešnosti in izkoriščanja okolja. Težko se je boriti proti tem. Z tega se vsi zavedamo in točno o teh stvareh smo govorili tudi tukaj. V Evropi in po svetu divjajo številne vojne, 2 sta nepojemljivi in levica je tudi zavezana in glas miru. In zato smo še toliko bolj prepričani, da je glas miru, razuma in pa solidarnosti tisti, kateremu bodo ljudje prisluhnili. Mi se delamo veliko na terenu in tudi na ta način verjamem, da bomo lahko prepričali ljudi, da je zavezanost, skupna naša zavezanost k prihodnosti leži v levih politikah, solidarnosti in tistem, kar ne razdvaja, ampak povezuje.
Najlepša hvala. Če imamo v dvorani še kakšno drugo vprašanje? Okay, Ada, your news again.
Hi again. I have one question. Do the left will try to ask the new left party from Sarah Wagenknecht to join the left group in the European Parliament after the elections?
As far as I understand, the newly formed party around Sarah Wagenknecht is on the search of its political identity. It's not sure that the party defines itself as a left-wing party. If the party defined itself as a left-wing party, its natural home would be the left group in the European Parliament.
But will you wait until they approach the left, or will the left ask them if they're interested?
In fact, if a party splits, that does not necessarily mean that all the personal relations break down. And I can tell you that many people of the European left are in constant discussion with people from the party of Sarah Wagenknecht. But let me reiterate, the party is on the search of its identity, and it's absolutely not clear which direction they will take.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Najlepša hvala. Če je še kakšno vprašanje, je zdaj možnost. Any other questions? Online? Nothing. Okay. So thank you very much to both the speakers. I would suggest we take another minute for the photo op, if it's still needed. Photographers. Otherwise, we will be closing this part, and everybody is welcome to join us at 7 p.m. We will be continuing with our program with discussion panels and some great music.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dober večer. En lep pozdrav vsem skupaj danes na tem posebnem dogodku Evropske levice in tudi slovenske levice. Dobrodošli. Tako, kakor smo napovedali, bomo se danes večer pogovarjali v angleščini, kar bo mogoče kar fajn za tiste, ki me poznate in veste, da sem iz Prekmurja in vsi pravijo, da govorim angleško boljše kot pravilno slovensko. Tako da bomo prešaltali. So, dear friends, I just made a short introduction in Slovenian, saying that actually my English is much better than perfect Slovenian because I come from a region where the dialect is pretty much strong. So, in English, I suppose everyone will understand me. Welcome at this special evening of the European Left Party and the hosting party, Levica. We are very happy and pleased and honored to welcome you here in Ljubljana, either in person or virtually present. We had 2 very intensive days of meetings of the ruling bodies of the European Left Party. We complied with the 2 main aims, and this was what we wanted to do. So, to have the electoral manifesto approved and to have our Spitzenkandidat for the European elections who will represent the European Left Party. It is not a secret that it was kind of a challenging job, as the European family is very diverse, no doubt on that. But dear comrades, let's pave together the way for a brighter, fairer, and more inclusive future for all. Because we stand at the crossroads of history, ready to embark a journey of change and progress. As we initiate the first event related to the European elections, let's embrace the power of unity, hope, joy, and even humor, as well as determination and empowerment. We, the European left, are ready to spark transformative change, and we aim to ignite hope and plant the seeds of a better future throughout Europe and even beyond. So, I would like to take the opportunity to thank all of you, really. I will not name because there are so many people, but really all of you, for all the work and effort that was put in all these processes and all these meetings that brought us now to this moment, our moment. Now you can make some applause. As I mentioned, this event is hosted by my national party. It's called Levica. We are very proud that after basically 10 years of existence as a party, which started as a movement basically, we managed to enter the parliament. And this road now led us also to be part of a government, which of course has its challenges, but without Levica, I'm quite sure to say, the government would be slightly different. So it's a difficult work, but we are continuing and fighting for what we think is a way that brings people together and gives them hope that they need and take care for social issues and all the other battles that normally are being forgotten by parties who are standing out of the left and progressive dimension of the politics. So now I would like to give the word to we don't have a president actually, we have a coordinator. And our coordinator is Asta Vrečko, and she's also the Minister of Culture. So Asta, please come, and I give you the floor for the welcome speech.
Hello, dear comrades, drage tovarišice, dragi tovariši, again, I will speak in my national language as the Minister of Culture, as the coordinator of Levica, and as a citizen of Europe who strongly believe in language diversity in European Union. Danes stojimo tukaj na začetku novega poglavja, ki ga pišemo skupaj. Zagon naše volilne kampanje za evropsko levico ni le politični trenutek, ampak je izraz naše skupne želje po pravičnejši, zeleni, solidarni in povezani Evropi. Zeleni prehod ni več možnost, ampak je nujnost. Naš planet kliče po dejanjih in mi smo tisti, ki mu moramo dati odgovore. Zavezanost Evropske levice k pravičnemu zelenemu prehodu je temelj našega programa in boja proti neobrzdanem kapitalizmu. Skupaj si prizadevamo za čisto energijo, trajnostno kmetijstvo, industrijo, ki spoštuje okoljske standarde in ustvarja delovna mesta tudi za prihodnje generacije. V središču našega programa je socialna Evropa. Zagovarjamo krepitev šolstva in zdravstva, pravico do stanovanja, varovanja delavskih in socialnih pravic in vzpostavitev evropske demokracije. Enako spolov in borba proti vsem oblikam diskriminacije so temelj naših političnih dejanj. Tudi zato v stranki Levica v Sloveniji vodimo 3 ministrstva, ki se dotikajo prav vseh vidikov naših življenj, od rojstva do pozne starosti. To nalogo smo nas še vzeli zavestno, kajti želimo si aktivno in z našimi politikami prizadevati za dostojno življenje vseh. Graditi moramo na solidarnosti, ki presega meje in priznavati, da naše skupne borbe proti neenakosti, prekarnim delovnim razmerjem, okoljskim izzivom in demokracijo so tesno povezane. Naša vizija Evrope je takšna, ki priznava raznolikost in gradi na temeljih spoštovanja, enakopravnosti in pravičnosti za vse. In tudi, dragi tovariši in tovarišice, v naši družini, v naši evropski levici verjamemo v moč povezovanja. Naša vizija ni zgolj politični program, ampak je naša zaveza k skupni prihodnosti, ki spoštuje različnost in spoštuje solidarnost. Umetna inteligenca in digitalizacija prinašata pred nas velike izzive, a tudi priložnosti za izboljšanje življenj vseh. Naša naloga pa je, da prav te tehnologije tudi s pomočjo sprememb na ravni Evropske unije usmerimo v dobrobit ljudi in ne v korist peščice. Vzpon desnega populizma, ki smo mu priča v številnih državah Evrope in tukaj Slovenija ni nobena izjema, je resen razlog za skrb. Predlogi hitrih in všečnih rešitev, kazanje s prstom na migrante, na manjšine kot za krivce za družbene spremembe, teorije zarote, lažne lovice, vse to pridobiva na moči. Sprega kapitala in skrajno desnih politik vodi Evropo in svet po mračni poti. Proti temu se je zelo, zelo težko boriti. A zato je toliko bolj nujno, da se vsak dan z vsakim našim dejanjem, vsaka naša stranka in skupaj borimo proti takšnim sovražnim politikam. In danes tukaj skupaj z vami delim vizijo boljše prihodnosti, v kateri ima posameznik moč in prostor, da prispeva k skupnemu dobremu. Naj bo naša kampanja Evropske levice znamenje upanja, enakopravnosti in pa pozitivne spremembe. Samo skupaj lahko ustvarimo Evropo solidarnosti, enakosti in pravičnosti za vse. Hvala lepa.
Thank you very much, Asta. Indeed, very inspiring words. And we will continue with some inspiring words from a very special guest that we had the honor to host yesterday and exchange ideas, talk about solutions, because we really are in times of really big challenges. And it's also an honor for me to have and to share with you a message of support from Jeremy Corbyn. I'm quite sure you know him, so no special introduction needed. So I invite you to listen to what is his message for the European left and the left in the upcoming European elections. Please.
In June, there are very important elections to the European Parliament. This is our chance to turn despair into hope. It's a time to try and turn the whole political agenda around and provide hope for young people, that they won't grow up in a world of personal debt. They won't grow up in a world of privatized healthcare. They won't grow up in a world of high rents and housing stress. And they won't grow up in a world of war and environmental destruction. That is our function in life, to develop policies with popular support that can bring about real change in our society. Through our project, the Peace and Justice Project, we've developed 5 demands. They're very straightforward. 1, a decent level of pay for everybody. The strikes that have gone on all over Europe are about respect at work and decent pay and conditions. Secondly, an environmental transition that gives us clean air, gives us sustainability, but does not punish those that work in industries that need to change the way they're doing things. Unions across Europe have been working brilliantly for the production of green steel, for the production of sustainable transport models, all done with workers and working class involvement. Thirdly, housing for all. Housing that is affordable rather than sky-high private sector rents and overcrowding. We need our people to be able to be decently housed. And fourthly, taxation. Taxation of the very richest in order to ensure there are supplies of good services for all the rest. We cannot live with these grotesque levels of inequality and call it a civilized society. Nobody should be forced to sleep on the streets. Nobody should ever be forced to beg for food or water just to sustain life. And the last point is on the global scale. Refugees are not the cause of wars around the world. Refugees are not the cause of environmental destruction. Refugees are not the cause of shortages in Europe. They are the victims. So let's have an international strategy and a policy which is about peace and justice, where we bring about an end to the ghastly war in the Ukraine. We bring about peace and justice and hope for the future for the Palestinian people and stop the bombardment of Gaza. That is a cause that all of us need to get behind and campaign for. A sustainable, peaceful world in a hopeful future on this continent. To achieve all of these things, we have to do something ourselves. That means unity. It means socialist, left, progressive forces all across Europe coming together to back the principles of the decent society we're trying to create. If we allow ourselves to be divided, it's a luxury we can't afford. And it's a luxury that the right, the free marketeers, those that would cut our public services and take us into yet more wars and conflict really want. Unity is the key. In June.
Indeed, not much to add. You may wonder why we don't have Jeremy in person here, right? Well, we would love to have him, but unfortunately he had other commitments, so he sent this message and was with us yesterday. Some of you had the pleasure to be with him yesterday, so just that you understand that we are not hiding him. Okay, let's go on. So, as we are approaching, as I mentioned in the beginning, we did the most important job in these 2 days. So, I would like to invite now on the stage with me Walter Baier, the president of the European Left Party, and it's official, the Spitzenkandidat of the Party of the European Left for the European elections. Congratulations, Walter. It was difficult, but now we are here.
Thank you very much, Valentina. Thank you very much, Asta. Thank you very much, Natasha, and thank you very much all the comrades from Levica who make this extraordinary moment, our moment, happening. I want to say firstly that I'm so glad to be here in Ljubljana with your party. I was one of those who at that time, being a coordinator of the political foundation of the Party of the European Left, Transform Europe, being involved in the foundation of the movement. And I saw in all these years the movement growing and growing and growing, and then the party being successful, entering into the parliament. And I'm so happy and proud about of this, because it's the proof what togetherness and solidarity and determination can achieve. That's wonderful, comrades. Thank you very much for this. We are talking about European politics. They say European politics is far away from people. And they are right. European politics is far away from people. But that's why we have to reclaim European politics. It's our Europe. It's our people. We have to demand, to put forward our demands. Let's reclaim. This is the moment. This is our moment. Make the right for affordable, decent, climate-friendly housing a part of European primary law. Adopt a European directive to introduce a legal rent cap. Prohibit fixed-term tenancies from primary residences. Don't talk about this. Do it. Just do it. Reserve 7% of the European Union's GDP for education, research, and innovation. Start making possible that every European has the right to access freely and easily public services, healthcare, education, public transport. Don't talk, do it. That's why we say also that when people in the European Parliament and the European Commission demand 2% of the GDP for armament expenditures, no, the opposite is necessary. Spend 2% of our GDPs for culture and art, for education, for healthcare, for strengthening the public services. We want women to be protected from male and patriarchal violence. That's why we want to see femicide as a notion recognized in European legislation. We want to have a European definition of rape. Yes is yes, and no is no, and nobody has the right to deprive women from their self-determination. Yes, indeed, we are in a moment of crisis. Europe has become the fastest warming continent in the world. Climate change is an urgency. We need significant changes in the way we produce and in the way we consume. But we do not want that the fight for climate justice becomes the issue of the well-to-do middle classes, of an enlightened minority which with authoritarian means oppose the change to the vast majority of our people. That's why we support the European Trade Union Confederation's demands for a just transition which nobody left behind. In fact, it must be the working classes becoming the protagonist of the ecological change. There will be no ecological change if the working classes do not adopt this as their own demand and as their own necessity. Let's make the difference. There are many people now talking about the ecological crisis. We say every step towards ecological and climate rehabilitation is necessary, and we are willing to cooperate with everybody available to this. But at the same time, we say to the people, we do not believe in the reconciliation of nature and capitalism. There is a fundamental contradiction, and if you want to have ecological rehabilitation, you have to curb neoliberal capitalism. You have to oppose wars. There are nowadays many people considering the present state of affairs as a crisis. And there are always two ways out of a crisis. The one way out of the crisis is backward. That is the way to austerity, to go back to the Stability and Growth Pact, which imposes austerity on the European states. This is the way of nationalism, the way of wars, the way of arms expenditures. This is the way we want to oppose. We are the ones who want to go forward, to want to achieve a Europe of solidarity, of equality, of justice, of hope, and of togetherness. And in this way, we will have a positive campaign, an optimistic campaign, with aims to empowering people to take their destiny in their own hands. In this sense, comrades and friends, let's now kick off. This is the moment to start. This is our moment. Thank you for the cooperation, the solidarity, and the help you provide. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Walter. It's going to be a long campaign, hard campaign, but I'm very confident that every one of us will do the best to achieve what we need to achieve in the situation where we are. Okay, now let's celebrate. Here with us, I have two amazing young women, singers, who will give us some food for soul, because these extraordinary girls, which name is Irma, the group, the duo, and it's composed by vocalist Masha But and guitarist Urshko Supej, and they're very special because with their songs, they're combining music and poetry, but addressing issues that are really important for us as the Left Party, because they're tackling social issues through music. So please, join me on the stage and let's be seduced by the beautiful voices of these beautiful ladies.
They said we stood out from the walls they were breeding. They said we should hide like a woman who's bleeding. But tell me, if I am to hide, I'd rather forgo. And tell me, though I might be grieving, it might never show. to smile. I'd rather you know. And tell me, though I might be leaving, I might never go. Oh, tell me, boy, does it matter who runs? Well, I can't head still and be quiet at once. Oh, tell me, boy, have I led you astray? Well, I can't be living this way. They said we stood out from the ones that have reasoned. They said we should run like a woman imprisoned. But tell me, if I am to run, we'd rather estrange. And tell me, I might be another, I might never change. Oh, tell me, boy, if we're one and the same, why wouldn't I dare to hold on to my name? Oh, tell me, boy, have I led you astray? Well, I can't be living this way. Oh, tell me, boy, have I thought you had known? I'm rather a woman alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, as we strengthened ourselves with some food for soul, I also hope we strengthened our minds, because now I would like to invite the first guests to join me. This is Nataša Sukic. Nataša Sukic, she's a member of our parliament, of Levica, deputy. She's also vice chair of our National Assembly. She's a long-year activist coming from way before she started her political career. Now she's a very successful deputy and a fierce fighter for just causes. So it's an honor that you are here with us, Nataša. Thank you. And of course, we are very happy to have with us also someone who is also a very special, let's say, fighter, coming from the other continent, let's say, but now living in Belgium. I'm really happy to have with us also Rafael Correa, whom also I think there is no need to introduce very into details. He was 10 years president of Ecuador, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, please take a seat. For, I think you had the longest mandate as a president in Latin America, right? In Ecuador. Okay, I correct myself. But anyhow, please take the mics, otherwise we will not hear you. Thank you. Great. So, we want, of course, to use this moment and to talk a little bit about the issues that we already mentioned that are important that we also mentioned that is important in our program that we approved, the program for the European elections, and talk through what are the challenges and also find some, let's say, proposals, concrete proposals, right? It's we cannot really start this discussion, let's say, with a topic that we are now very aware that is happening. I'm talking about the sad situation in Palestine, which of course is not the only situation that is happening in the sense that people are in war, people are dying. That's why we lighted this candle as a symbol for everyone who right now is suffering, for all the victims that are unfortunately happening because of the capitalistic interest, let's say, which of course we are fighting against it. So, Natasha, I already mentioned you are one, let's say, of the most engaged, not the only one, but the most engaged deputy from Levica, who is fighting for the cause, in the sense that you're proposing a lot of initiatives how Slovenia could take even a more active role. Slovenia, let's say, it's doing its part, if you compare it to the European Union states, is one of the most active ones, but still, let's say, it's not enough, right? It's not enough. We are having actually a situation where the genocide is being live streamed. How is that possible? We ask ourselves, right? But anyway, let's turn the shift and let's talk about what can we do. What are your endeavors in the parliament as a deputy? Of course, together with our ministries. As I mentioned, we have 3 ministries, so it's a common fight. But what is happening in this area?
So hello to everyone. Yes, Valentina, this is very painful issue. We all, it's hard to see all these scenes of genocide, but even harder is to watch the lukewarmness and slowness of the response. And this is the point. To do this, we need to move from fine words to action, to concrete measures. And this is what we are doing, MPs of Levica in the parliament. But it didn't start with this horrific attack on Gaza a few months ago. We started with our initiatives for the recognition of the sovereign independent state of Palestine 10 years ago, when we came first time to the Slovenian parliament. This is what we are doing all the time. But now, of course, in last months, we have been persistently petitioning to the government of Slovenia to take decisive and concrete actions. As I said, not just words, but concrete actions. Because let's ask ourselves, how is it possible that Europe has imposed 2,000 sanctions on the Russian Federation over the war in Ukraine, but not a single one on Israel, which is clearly committing genocide against the Palestinians, and this is crime against crimes. So double standards must be brought to a decisive end. And Slovenia has an opportunity. Slovenia started 2 years mandate as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council this year. January 1st, we started this mandate. So therefore, we have a historic duty and opportunity to speak out strongly for an end to the massacre of Palestinians in Gaza, and to pull behind it along with progressive European countries such as Spain, Belgium, Ireland, and others. So to pull other EU countries that are still hesitant and failing to toughen their policy towards Israel. So we need concrete moves for a trade embargo, for sanctions against the politicians, the generals, and institutions responsible for joining the action before The Hague, and because only real diplomatic and economic pressure can force Israel to put an end to the murder in Gaza. Nothing else. I'm sure about that. So all the rest, as I said, is just words on paper which in practice allow the genocide to continue in front of our very eyes. This is what we are doing.
So, Rafael, how do you evaluate? I mean, Natasha mentioned already, but still, we have international organizations who supposedly should do this firm step and intervene. We know they can do it, right? Now we have the situation in the Security Council where United States and Israel together are blocking everything, and it's like, you know, what is happening? I mean, what is happening? Or then I would like to also add, what do you think about the role maybe of other organizations that should be more empowered to put another weight on this, let's say, kind of monopoly politics that the United Nations are taking? For example, with the non-aligned movement, right? This could be a way how we could force and engage also other organizations to somehow revoke their power in order to intervene and do something.
First of all, Valentina, thank you very much for your invitation. I am honored to be here.
Thank you.
To meet all of you and to visit again Slovenia, such a beautiful country. You know, the answer is very easy. There is not international justice. There is international interest, the balance of power, always in function of the more powerful. So there is a double standard, like Natasha mentioned. The United Nations is a very weak institution. The Security Council, with the veto power, is structured according to the balance of power during the Second World War. This balance has changed, but the Security Council continues the same. So there is a lot of hypocrisy at international level. You know, the first illustration was the victory of reason over superstition. We need a second illustration, the victory of reason over power, to look for a true international justice. It's not acceptable, it's not possible to accept the genocide against the Palestinian people, against Gaza. But that continues. It's something unthinkable, incredible, really incredible. But we need to reinforce institutions like United Nations, for instance, to restructure the Security Council, for instance, to get mandatory the decisions of the General Assembly of the United Nations. They're not aligned. Countries can do something, but you know, it's a problem of real politics, balance of power. And we are not the more powerful. And, well, we have to continue fighting in order to have really, or to get international justice. Like Trasimax said more than 2,000 years ago in Plato's dialogues, justice is just the convenience of the stronger. And that is the challenge, to change this situation.
I totally agree. Yeah. But anyhow, when we are talking about the actual geopolitical situation and also the power balance or the fight of power, here I think that the right wing, they are far way ahead of us. Somehow they're more successful in taking the power, right? I mean, you can speak about this in Ecuador. We know how the situation was. You did amazing jobs, then they came to power. Now, can you say maybe 2 words about the situation now in Ecuador? Because for what I know, it's really bad. And yeah.
First, let me give some thinkings about some thoughts about the right-wing parties that in some kind are ahead of us, because they can be united according to their ends. And the left, we are divided because of our principles. So we have to learn to be united, you know? In Ecuador,
Something to take a note on.
In Ecuador, like in the rest of Latin America, you know, there were very successful leftist governments, and they cannot accept that. The United States cannot accept that. They can accept a very weak or failed leftist government, but successful leftist government, like we had at the beginning of the century in the whole region, not just in Ecuador.
Of course.
They cannot accept that. So 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we realized very well, we observed reorganization of the right parties with the support of the United States, with, by all means, trying to stop the progressive governments, the progressive leaders, the intends to change the status quo. We are an underdeveloped region, 2 centuries of underdeveloped, so it's enough. So we were successful. So he tried to stop, by all means, this wave of progressive government, successful progressive government, through things like lawfare, judicial persecution,
You
boycott,
are a victim of it
blockage,
as well?
sanctions like Venezuela, Cuba, etc. And well, they are successful because they are very powerful. In spite of that, for instance, Lula can recover the presidency of Brazil. We continue fighting, but it's a very, very hard fighting because they do not respect democracy, they do not respect human rights, they do not respect constitutional principles, and because they own the media, and that is a key issue for the left. If you believe that we can change something without changing the media, we are wrong. The media is a problem here in Europe, in the whole world, because the owners of the media, transnational, very powerful people, etc. But it's much worse in Latin America, because the media belongs to the elites, and is the most important instrument to keep the status quo. The media, Latin American media, is the guardian of the status quo. So if we do not face this reality, we don't fight against right-wing parties. We fight against their media. And if we don't change this reality, that doesn't mean to cut free press, come on, to cut free expression. No, not at all. That means to respect the truth, to transform the media in order to recover the original role of guardian of the truth.
Yeah.
Now they are guardian of the status quo and a lot of lies.
Yes. And I would really like to mention how far they go, how imaginative they are while persecuting, because you are even in charge of what, psychic influence? I mean,
you know,
what
I
is
love
that?
because I have to laugh because I cannot cry in public. But I have 53 criminal lawsuits, 53. More than Pinochet, Chapo Guzman, Al Capone together, you know.
Yes.
And I am condemned already, 8 years, according to the condemned, 8 years in prison without any political right. And because they don't have any proof against me, because there is no any crime, they condemn, but literally, it says because of psychic influence over a criminal organization. What was that criminal organization? My government.
Okay, great. Please use your psychic influence for the left in these elections, okay? And now, yeah, speaking, you already mentioned the role of media. Okay, of course, when they're working in their favor, it's okay. But when we have journalists like Julian Assange, who is now basically being starved to death, I mean, encaged, because he revealed, because he was the guardian of truth, right? So we still have investigative journalism who wants to put on the table atrocities of what these governments are doing, right? And you were the one who basically were the first one who granted, at that point, asylum to Julian, which, of course, now we know the history, how it went on. But I would really like to mention this, because only on Wednesday, I think everyone is aware, the British High Court concluded, you know, with this hearing appeal, that what to do with him now, extradite him or not. So the situation is, as we know, that they will take the decision on the 15th of March, if I'm correct. But anyhow, Natasha, you were also talking about this and fighting for him in the frame of the Council of Europe, right? And can you share your experience? I think you were there. You had the experience of the cell of Julian Assange that was placed there,
yes,
right?
I was in some kind of a replica of this cell. It was, you know, this was like an installation in front of the Europe Council building. And I was inside this cell. I thought first that I was 10 minutes because I didn't have a watch with me. And they said, you will be there 10 minutes and then you will feel you will experience what Julian Assange is experiencing every day. So I heard all the voices he's hearing, like barking of the dogs, people's shouting and everything. I was smelling this smell from the toilet in the cell, and it was horrible. It was horrible because there is nothing else. There is just one table, one bed, this toilet, and that's it what you have.
Yeah.
And this is how he is living day by day, 24 hours every day. And first I saw that I was there 10 minutes. In fact, I was half an hour, and it was really terrible. So I can't imagine to be there, I don't know, forever. Obviously, he will be in such circumstances if he will stay in UK, or I hope that he will not be moved to United States, because that penalty is also possibility there. Yeah.
Okay, now what is the plan for him, that they will appear in the European Court of Human Rights? So applying then the Rule 39, which will prevent the extradition of him, while the court will do all the procedures and basically go on trial, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what we can do as individuals in this case, or as politicians, this is what also Jeremy mentioned yesterday, right? Talk, and talk, right?
Yes, sure.
So we need to insist, we should not let those people be forgotten, and we always need to raise the voice for those who are raising the voice for the truth. So I think our time is up, right? Okay. I'm really sorry, I would like to chat with you much more, but thank you very much for now.
Don't worry about it, it's better to talk, to accomplish, and to accomplish.
Exactly.
We have to be strategic.
Exactly, we have to do that. Thank you very much, thank you. So, now I would like to invite to the hot chairs my next guest. This is Simon Maljevac. Simon Maljevac is our Minister for Solidarity-Based Future. We will talk about this, of course, now. You will explain everything about that. And please join the chairs, the stage, Carola Rackete, who I think everyone knows for her amazing work for the refugees, and now you're very much active in the field of climate, fight for the climate, right? Okay, so you can stand, you can take a seat, however you feel more comfortable. And I will start with you, Simon, because this ministry, basically, we can say is an example how we can start to tackle issues that for the left parties are very much important, right? So explain, what are you doing?
What am I doing? Well, we're doing a lot. Maybe I should start actually with what our coordinators said. Our party, Levica, is in the government for the first time. And we, as left-wing people do usually, we don't like to take easy roads. So we took the topics that we knew are relevant and are going to be quite difficult. That's why one of our goals of entering the government was establishing a new ministry. This is a new ministry in this government, which is tackling the issues of long-term care. So is how to take care of those who need the support of the state the most. Second is housing. I think we heard a lot about that also in the past few days. And third is also economic democracy. So we're really looking of how should our society look in, let's say, 20 years. So we have a bit of a spacey name. I like to go across Europe and explain about the ministry and explain this name. I also like it because everybody likes to put different topics in it. So I have a lot of people to talk to regarding that. And I'll go later maybe more in depth regarding the topics.
Great. That was for the introduction. Then, Carola, I'm really happy that you're with us because another topic that basically has to do with elderly people, has to do with young people, people of all ages and all nations, is basically to take care of our planet, which is the mother. No, I really like the expression which is used in Latin America. They called her so lovely Pachamama. She's our earth, and seems like we kind of are not taking really good care of our planet, right? So every endeavor to protect it, of course, it's the priority of every left party, and especially, as we also heard, for the European Left Party itself. But the other issue that I would like to mention in this sense, basically, it's another aspect that it's also important, and it's related to people in the sense, how should we take care of the planet, but also not impose, how to say, all the strict measures to the people while we are trying to make this transition to something that we call just transition to the right climate change in this sense. So what does actually climate change means to you in this sense? Because you are a conservation scientist, you are now very much active in this climate fight. So what is this concept for you? What does it mean?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very glad to be here. It's great to see so many people. And rightly said, I'm an ecologist, and I personally do think that it's not about saving the planet, it's that the climate crisis is the biggest social crisis that we are facing. It's ultimately about humans and how we want to live together in a global society in a fair and just way. And for me, that means obviously redistribution, first and foremost. 92% of global emissions have been caused by the global north, and we have to pay environmental debt to the global south. And the absolute and fair minimum that we would have to do is to cancel the debt of the global south. But on top of that, even if we were looking at a country like Germany, we know that the richest 1% of the population is using up 15% more emissions and resources as the lower 50%. And that is a scandal in itself. And I think here come to something concrete, what we need. We need the money for a just transition. And that is what we're going to be fighting for. Because if we don't have the money and we know where we can get it from the corporations that are avoiding taxes, from rich people, we don't need any person like Elon Musk on this planet at all who is so rich that he can dominate what governments are doing around the globe. This is where we can get the money from, and we need it for the just transition. And we also need a resource cap, and it will not hurt the average person. We need to cut resources because it's not only about emissions, it's about all the other materials, everything else that we take from the living planet, and we have to reduce the resource cap until we come to a point that we are within a sustainable limit. And that is what we have to achieve.
I totally agree with you, but still, there are people who are not satisfied with, a lot of policies now being taken into the sense what you're actually saying. Let's just remind us, and they're still going on, the farmers are protesting. So how do we resolve that? I mean, on one hand, we have the necessity to protect, to impose certain measures that we will really achieve what we need to achieve. But then on the other hand, we have farmers who also, in a justified way, are saying, okay, but what the European Commission is proposing, it's not real. I mean, how can we apply this? They're talking about this spaghetti administration, and they're talking about, well, we need to produce, but then we cannot use, or how we should use the pesticide. So how to resolve this, let's say, conflict? It's a question for you, Carola.
Well, I think it's a good question for me, but also for him, because it's 30 years of policies gone wrong in the agricultural sector, so I don't think there is a quick fix. It's probably more of a question of 20 years, which of course doesn't help us now in the situations where farmers are, rightfully so, extremely angry. Farmers cannot live the price of their produce, and that is a problem. We should use the subsidies that we have within the European Common Agricultural Policy, but it should be used for environmental or for social actions that people do. So for example, if you're having trainees, or if you're setting aside land for nature conservation, that is what we should use the subsidies for. But essentially, farmers do not want to live in a subsidy state. We have to give them a fair pricing system for the food. And then of course, food prices will rise, but we come back to the rest of the problem of distribution in our society. We need higher wages, we need better social welfare systems. People need to be able to afford the food. And another issue, looking at the global south, is global trade agreements. The subsidies that we are putting into these agricultural systems are destroying the food markets in other continents and other countries, apart from the imports that we are using. So there is, unfortunately, not a quick fix, but it's necessary to do really a complete revision of the EU agricultural system.
Exactly. No, it was really for me, I was just a few days ago, I was in Almeria in Spain, and when you go there and you see the countries, the landscape, it's full of white plastic growing, how they are called, where they cultivate greenhouses. Thank you so much. And first of all, you see there and you're surprised, okay, what is that? I was really surprised, I have to admit. And then, of course, what it brings upon the region itself, because I was talking to the people and they explained, yes, it's great that you have food that we grow here and you can have, I don't know, tomato all the year around and stuff, but then on the other hand, for example, they're scarce of water. There is literally no water because they use it. There is the climate, because of the climate change, of course, there is not as much water coming from the rain and so on and so forth. So it was amazing and really difficult to see how to balance these two issues. So what would be then, and then talking about money, we have military spending going on, right? So a part of the solution would, of course, be that we take this money that we are trying to spend for military and wars and so on for all these causes, right?
Of course, but when you're looking at food, just talking about food, prices have risen by about 30% in Germany within the last 3 years. And I'm fairly sure that the numbers are pretty similar in most European countries. And it's not the farmers who are making profits here, it's often the supermarket chains, actually. And that is also why we have to work on the pricing system. We actually have to break up the big supermarket chains because they dictate the prices. But coming to the issue of the water, yes, in some regions you're definitely right. Water scarcity and drought is an increasing problem. It's a real problem. But mainly animal farming, livestock farming, of course, uses a lot more water. And what we need to use the subsidies for is helping farmers reduce animal numbers. We can't afford this livestock system in the future. It's just fairly simply not possible. And another issue when we're talking about corporations is land grabbing, really. And it's a problem even within Europe, not only overseas, as we typically talk about. There are big supermarket chains, big investors that after 2009 went into the land market and started to buy specifically agricultural land. It's rising the prices. Farmers cannot afford to farm, to pay for land. The prices in some of the areas in East Germany for land have doubled in the last 15 years. It's completely impossible for farmers to live under these or to farm under these conditions.
Yeah, maybe to add here, it's actually, yeah, this is the discussions we're also having here in Slovenia, and part of the idea behind the ministry is also, we as a party believe that we need a new social contract of the society, of where we want to go. I think we as politicians often think only short term, and we don't think long term, and sometimes it's really difficult to sell long-term goals. And that's what we're trying to do at the ministry. And yes, thinking about the people, we've been now working for a little bit over a year, and I'm happy to say that last year, only after 5 months of establishment of the ministry, we were able to adopt Long-Term Care Act, which was discussed over 20 years in Slovenia. So
where there is a will, there is a way.
Yes, it's still a challenge. We plan to implement it to the full till the next elections, till the year 26. It's not going to be easy, but we have to start and not be afraid even to fail sometimes, but really progress, stand behind the ideas we have, and be very loud about them.
Exactly. And this is also what we need to do also in all the other areas, right? I mean, if we see how, because this is also a very important issue, how to engage young people, right? We know that normally the percentage of young people taking part in the European election is very low. They say young people are not political. Well, we can debate on that, but what is the good side of this story? That young people are becoming more and more aware that the climate change is a really serious issue, and they are trying to move from bottom up, right? I mean, you are an activist, now you're going to also to take the political role as you are also the candidate for the European elections for Die Linke in Germany, which I think is great. So is really the way how to even make more pressure when you are not lucky and have a party like Levica in the government and pushing through that, really the way of the social movement and this momentum of really we need to push, but we need to push on the ground and in the parliament or in the government.
Yes, all the pressure is needed, always. And I think it's always good. You need both. You need very strong civil society. I think those are the thinkers. Those are the thinkers that give ideas, and our role as politicians is try to push and implement as much as we can. And really listen what are those topics that are coming on the forefront and what are the topics that are being raised. And we should be very clear regarding that.
Exactly. And then my last question. So what should be now, because, you know, we have this, of course, we have the Green Deal, we have, you know, all these proposals, all written on paper. But, Carola, what is really now the solution that needs to be like the priority in the new mandate of the Parliament in the field of climate protection, let's say? What urges?
Well, there's a lot of things to do, but I think the most important point, which I think which really matters for the election campaign, is to get unengaged people out to vote. And I've been actually really happy to see finally big demonstrations against the AfD on the streets in Germany. It's critical, it's important. We have to explain to people that this election really matters. We have to explain that 80% of the laws nowadays are made in Brussels. We have to explain that Brussels is the second biggest lobby capital in the world after Washington. The corporations wouldn't send their lobbyists if it wouldn't matter. I think we really have to do a lot of work to explain to people why it matters and to mobilize them to come out and vote. That, I think, is the most important task that we have, because we do have, I think, in many areas, progressive majorities, but they are silent minorities. They are silent. They are people who agree in principle, but they do not engage politically, and we have to mobilize these people to engage and become active, not only in the votes, but also in the streets, in civil society organizations. We need to encourage the silent majority. That is the most important thing we really have to do in the next months.
Yeah, nothing to add, right? Okay, another issue, maybe if you can tell us, Simon, a little bit more, because it's also related to energy efficiency, related to housing, right? So this is also a way how we can put a small part to the common fight of, you know, preventing the climate change with housing that is energy efficient, right?
Yeah, first of all, yeah, housing is another topic that was really not tackled for the past 20 years in Slovenia, and we can see the result now, the prices of the rents skyrocketing, and really, it's not just they are skyrocketing, it's nearly impossible sometimes even to get a flat. So we should build back on the basis. So a home, a right to a home, it's the right of every individual. So what we are trying to do is establish again the system of public housing. I believe the public housing is the right way to go. This year, last year and this year, we managed to put the most money into the public housing since Slovenia was established. But that's not enough, actually. I always say that we need to think of what will happen if and when we're gone. So our main goal and of the ministry and of the party is really to build systematic public housing with systematic financing. As it was already mentioned, it's a lot of the times about the money. And we hear a lot of the times that we should find ways how to do it without the money, and sometimes you cannot. Yes. Sometimes you need it, and we come again to the agreement as a society where we want to live, how we want to live, and what are our priorities. And I also believe that the silent majority is a lot of the times behind us, but sadly, at these times, far right is often louder, and that's why our voices sometimes get lost.
Yes. Great. I think we can conclude on this point. Thank you very much for being here with us, sharing ideas. And next time, Levica needs to take over the Ministry of Finances, right? There's where the money is. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, my dear, let's go on. We are now approaching the final round of discussion. Unfortunately, I have to apologize, Luka Mesec, our Minister for Labor and Social Affairs. Unfortunately, he got sick and he cannot be with us tonight. But nevertheless, I'm really happy that we have with us Isabel Schömann. Please come join me. It's going to be only us, so, but I'm quite sure we will not get out of the topics. Huh? So, Isabel, you are here representing the Confederation of European Trade Unions, right? So, as such, and knowing that you're representing basically what for the left is one of the key targets, let's say, the ones who we are fighting the most for them, no? How do you evaluate now? I think you've read our program, right?
Of course.
Great. So, did we do a good job in proposing what should be the solution for all these problems that we're facing now? I know that you also prepared your own manifesto electoral, where you are presenting your points from the Confederation. So maybe we start with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your invitation. It's a real pleasure, and it's with great interest that the ETUC, the European Trade Union Confederation, is with you tonight. And I would like to say, first of all, thank you, because we've done an amazing job together. And I think this is where my first message would be. We have to keep joining forces, in particular because the next mandate will be very difficult. The far right is on the rise, and here, of course, we are the one to fight for a progressive, democratic way forward in the European Union, and it's of course important that we join forces and that we also, and this is my second point, celebrate the success we've been having together. And I think this is one element where I would like to stress the last 5 years I've been very dense, very difficult sometimes, but we managed, for example, to adopt an adequate minimum wage in Europe. And this is exactly the start of the fight and the response we give, concrete response we give to the people of Europe when it comes to the fight against the cost of living crisis, which is clearly not here driving the inflations. What is driving the inflation is, of course, the windfall profits. And I think here we discussed already the issue of redistribution, and that's clearly here where we have set a milestone for the workers, for the people. And this is certainly you and us together that are looking and hearing to give a voice to those citizens, to those workers in Europe. And I think this is very important to listen to them and to come back to them when we have found solutions, to give them the perspective that we are working for them. And clearly here, this is something very important that also at the trading movement we try to learn better, is to celebrate the successes with our colleagues, because it's also a kind of motivations. And this is also my wish tonight to bring that positive note in the discussion.
Thank you so much. I totally agree. Sometimes, of course, we as leftists, we are so, into this fight, and we see all this injustice, and seems like really we are drowning, and we are, getting depressed. And it's really sometimes we really need to give ourselves some credit also for the good work that we are doing. Of course, the changes, they happen very slow, and we are frustrated, but nevertheless, even if we move like really slowly, we should be thankful and proud and celebrate exactly also the achievements, because they are achievements, right? But nevertheless, if we talk about now, because of all the crises that we have currently in Europe, because, the war in Ukraine, all the measures that we're taking, and now the European people are suffering because of that. Not only the European, but in the sense that we have raised the cost of living and people are struggling. So what should the European Union actually do in this sense to prevent this kind of situation, because they have the power? So what is your suggestion, maybe also from your manifesto?
So I bring one copy with me, but of course everything is online, is the manifesto of the European Trade Union Confederations. I would like to mention that the European Trade Union Confederations gather 93 national confederations, trading confederations, of course, the European federations, which are representing the sectors. All of that, more than 45 million workers. And for them, we have also set a manifesto, and we presented that manifesto in November to the European Parliament, the progressive forces, democratic forces in the European Parliament. And of course, we want to fight against the cost of living crisis. We want to bring positive element in the discussions. We want to find the solutions. We also want to give the voice back to the workers, and it's where democracy at work makes sense. This is where the collective bargaining dimension, the right to organize for workers is key. And of course, to agree collective agreements with the employers when it's possible, but also, like the European Parliament, to have a co-legislator power that the trade union has inside the treaty, and to use that. So here we are very much on the forefront when it comes to setting legislations that make the difference for workers. We mentioned minimum wage. We could have mentioned the gender pay transparency. We are working currently on creating what I call the highway to the supply chain with a corporate sustainability due diligence that should be voted very soon, we hope, on the basis of a political agreement that was reached in December. This highway to the supply chain is exactly to be able to have a say in the way business model are, abusing currently labor and abusing, actually exploiting colleagues in the supply chain for the cost of the profit. The more you externalize your risk, the more you make profit. And of course, we all know that workers and labor is not a commodity and it's not tradable. So what we are doing here is clearly to be able to get into the supply chain and to make sure that where you have subcontracting, where you are franchising, that we are able also to organize those colleagues and to make sure that they have decent working conditions and that the health and safety at the workplace is protected. So here, quite clearly, a dimension that we are looking into the workers, we are looking into the people. And the other dimension that you mentioned is, of course, to tackle the transformations. It's the digital transformations, it's the green transformations. For that, you need to make sure and to make our colleagues understand that those innovations, because all of that is innovations, delivers for them too, not just for businesses. And clearly here, the way we are working is to make sure that when it comes to the introduction, for example, of artificial intelligence at the workplace, that is not on the basis of the abuse of the data of the workers. It's not abusing and creating undue surveillance, at the workplace using the device you have, the digital device you have. It's clearly to set rules for the right to disconnect, because for the moment we are all online all the time, and this is not in line with the Working Time Directive. And here clearly we are back to the health and safety at the workplace. For that, we took the risk of bargaining collectively with the employers. It did not succeed. So what? The next steps is that we are looking to the Commission, who has to come back with a legal proposal. And this is exactly how it could function. So we took the risk, and clearly here it could have delivered, it hasn't. It's not a problem in itself. We have to move to the next steps. And this is exactly the way that we also discuss and bring that message to the workers in Europe. We try the best we can. We try all the means we have, up to litigations. If we have to go to court, it's the last recourse, but we will do that. And workers have to have the possibility to go to court as much as they have the possibility to demonstrate in the streets. And the right to strike is clearly attacked for the moment in Europe and elsewhere in the world, but clearly here is not acceptable. It's not acceptable that workers go in jail because they striked and because they blockade, for example, a street to make sure that their rights are respected.
you mentioned really important issues, but maybe do you think a part of the solution in all this big picture, of course, could be also what we've mentioned, for example, that Levica is proposing now in the frame of the solidarity-based future, let's say the economic democracy, in the sense that we involve workers more in the decision-making processes of firms, of, firms, right? I mean, in the institutions where they're employed, because we are not talking only about firms, we are also talking about public institutions and so on and so forth, right? So would that be a good example how we can empower the workers, that they have a word which will define their future and their role?
I think it's a very valid question, and this what I meant with democracy at work. It's of course collective bargaining, but it's foremost also the information and the consultation, the participation of workers in the decision-making processes. For that we have tools, and thanks to your great support, we are moving forward very quickly on the revision of a very important tool, which is the European Works Council. The European Works Council is the only transnational body that gathers workers and employers for the sake of transmitting the information and being consulted on very important development and changes, and potentially adapting to those changes, which are of course very, very important in Europe, given the development being the Green Deal, for example, the green transitions, but also the digital, all of that packed in the just transitions. And the just dimension is clearly here, where we can make sure that we are part of the decision-making processes. So here again, we are working very much hand in hand with you to make sure that we improve the rights that we have, so that workers and their representatives have a say in the decision-making processes. In some country, it goes far up to the co-determinations, and of course this is one element, not just one in Europe, it's actually more than 12 member states who have this form of co-determinations. But of course, where there aren't any form of co-determinations, we make sure that the information, the consultation takes part, and of course we are there as trade unions to make, have the prerogative of collective bargaining, make sure that we move on in that respect. So here, I would like to go back to 1969, Willy Brandt. Willy Brandt said back in time, we should dare more democracy, and exactly what we do, in particular in this manifesto, where we clearly not only build on what we have, but we create new rights for workers, in particular, for example, in the supply chain, where we should have a say in the way business are indeed developing business model, like in the platform economy, where actually we should be proud of willing to make sure that those drivers that delivers the food, and here again, question mark, do we really need to have our food delivered? I close my brackets, but here, for those people who are willing to have a job and are in certain situations that are, they have no other choice, that those people are not exploited by business models that make a lot of profit indeed, but not to pay those people who are delivering your food. And I think here clearly we are working on a model that change and stop those business models of exploitations. Those workers who want to remain independent, they can. But the most, and this is where we have the presumption, they can stay independent if they want, but most of them have no choice. And here, because they are subordinated to the employers, and platforms are employers, this platform have to respect the whole labor law, the whole protection that those workers have, starting with paying social contributions, and I would say most important, make sure that those people have a protection at work. Because indeed, when they have an accident, for example, they usually have no protections. And on the top of that, when we try to organize them, guess what? They are disconnecting on the spot. And this is not acceptable that nowadays businesses are setting such conditions.
Exactly. And now just came to my mind also what is important also from the side of Levica. Yes, we have the platform workers, we have workers in the public sector, but then we also have cultural workers. I mean, for them, I think it's even more difficult to, right, to present them as, I don't know, as workers who have the same rights, because it's kind of combination between creative work, but then, of course, they also need to be paid, right?
Exactly. So here, that's lovely that you mentioned that. We worked 4 years long with the DG competition, exactly to make the difference for those workers who are independent workers and cannot, in particular, organize themselves, because when they organize, said back in time, DG competitions, there are cartels, because they are setting price on the market. And we, trying to represent them, are cartels too. And we made clear, using a lot of legal arguments, but also very practical arguments, bringing our colleagues with us to those very important meetings, we managed to make the DG competition realize that DG competition has not to reinvent or to redefine what trade unions are, what trade unions do, what workers are doing. And here, I think very important guidelines, applying also at the national level. When such a situation happens, the competition authority withdrew and let us do our work. That means organizing those workers and make sure that they have access to social protections, that they have access to good working conditions.
Great. And now I'm really happy that you are here with me, because now I would like to talk to you about a question that, at least for me, is one of the most intriguing one. But I know that also for us in general, it's artificial intelligence. We are now really, it's going with a speed that I think that as a society, we are actually not even ready for what this means, not only for the workers, but as a society itself, right? I'm not a politician, my background is cultural studies, so for me this phenomena is interesting because of this cultural aspect as well. But okay, we will stick to the workers in this context. Because, you know, in the 80s, there was this fear when the robotization came up. It was like, well, the robots will take away the work for let's say, the work that they can do, right? It was more manual work, more, let's say, for workers that do more manual work, let's say. But now with the progress in this area, we have intelligence that takes away also the intellectual work. So what do we do? Are we going to lose our jobs? Or what happens with this area, I mean, in this area, in your opinion?
I think jobs change with or without AI. And I think this is something that as trade union, you know. And of course, you need to find the answers to accompany those transformations of jobs. It's AI today, and it was the industry at one point. It was about the mine sector, for example, you know, a very dramatic sometimes transformations. With AI, what we have, and I think here again, a success in the European Union, we have a regulation on AI. And these regulations is there also to make sure that not only those big businesses, and here we can speak about cartels and monopoly, clearly dictate how they want us to use AI, independently of whether this product is a risk for individuals or is a risk at the workplace. And clearly here we have a start of a change which is not enough for the protection of workers at the workplace. Clearly not, and this is the reasons why the TUC is asking for a directive based on the social policy chapter where we have the competencies for the protection of workers. So a directive on AI at the workplace. And clearly what we see in the regulations that has been adopted is that the workplace, for example, has been identified as a high risk. And of course it is a high risk because artificial intelligence is a product. And this product for the moment is regulated in a product directive, which is, you know, regulating the use of AI by the end user, which is in principle the employers. So the employers can use a product, but also can create that product or put the specificity of that product. And what we see is clearly that there is specificity to track you online when you open your laptop, for example. And there are other dimensions where they could also monitor how you work, looking into your camera, employers asking that the camera is the whole day long on, which is not acceptable, and we had to go to court to make sure that it is not acceptable. And we do. So here you see the need for regulation, you see the need for better protections, and at the end, to come back to what I said at the beginning, those innovations, because they are innovations and we can use them, have to be regulated so that they deliver for all, not just for some of them, and clearly not just for the businesses created them. On ChatGPT, because I think that was your point, we also need regulations. And we also need to make sure that here we can control the production of text, the productions of resources, but also to make sure that we have human in control. And this is potentially the biggest win, but also the biggest risk of artificial intelligence, is this kind of development of learning machines where we don't know anymore what they learn and how they learn. And this is clearly what also at the workplace is clearly damaging, because those learning machines are hiring and firing people, humans being, without any decisions making of a human being at the workplace. And this is not acceptable here again. We need those innovations, but they have to deliver for all.
Exactly, no, because I was talking to some colleague a day ago, and there was this fear. I mean, the fact is that even the decisions are being put on these programs. For example, if you apply for, I don't know, social subsidy or something, that they're doing the pre-selection. I mean, how can we permit that? How can a machine really make such kind of decision, even if it's only doing the pre-selection, right? So, okay, this is a whole new topic. We will not enter into this anymore because our time is up. Thank you very much. It was indeed very enriching, your thoughts that you shared with us. And anyhow, we work together in the future. So all the best, and thank you for being with us.
All the best to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, this is what we prepared today with our guests. I know that there are a lot of questions. We could talk for hours, which we probably will do in the future. But now I would like to invite the two amazing singers for their second food for the soul, so to say. And then we will slowly conclude. So I don't see them, probably. Ah, sorry, it's the light. So please, girls, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. This song is called Flag of Unfitting Colors. My hands were still bare, and I wore a smile that did nothing for me. And oh, have I wondered, why is it still there? And I wore a rope to climb up the ladder, and oh, have I prayed it spare me a fall. And I smile to make me feel better, and oh, have I wondered why wear it at all. quit painting flowers. I'm a grown woman now, and I charge for my hours. I know we got messed up, but you gotta quit playing dress up with a grown-up girl. I can't figure out what you're trying to forgive me. We can cry it out, baby. You can simply just leave me. I know I'm a mess up, but you gotta quit playing dress up with a grown-up girl. And I wore a heart nearly broken, and all have I prayed they'd leave it as is. And I wore my name, I shall not be spoken, for I am not here to love and to please, to laugh and to be, to hurt with no pain, to smile with no joy, to cry with no sound. What's in it for me? I think it's about time you quit painting flowers. I'm a grown woman now, and I charge for my hours. I know we got messed up, but I can't get it dressed up for you. You ain't children no more. I can't figure out what you're trying to forgive me. We can cry it out, baby. You can simply just leave me. I know I'm a mess up, but you gotta quit playing dress up with a grown-up girl. And I wore a flag of unfitting colors, and oh, have I prayed it flattered me more. And yet we all wear it, we all bear with it, we all wonder what for. And then we all find it, some more, some less blinded by what it was before. And then we all hide it, but at least we've tried to wear it once more.
Thank you. Bravo. Thank you. Thank you so much. The title of this song was Flag of Unfitting Colors. I really like the title. Okay, great. So now we are approaching to the final part of this evening, of this Our Moment evening. And here I would like to invite now to join me on the stage, Sira Rego. Sira is now the Minister for Youth, Children and Youth, right? But we asked her, you can use that one there, over there, to do the conclusion speech, which we entitled "The Look to the Future," or "Look to the Future," because Sira can say it also from her experience as being a deputy in the last mandate. So who better to tell us what to expect or give us some inspiration, especially for Walter, when we enter into the next mandate of the European Parliament. Please, Sira.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me to this closing event. I start with a fraternal greeting to the party of the European left, especially to Lewica for hosting us. And of course, my congratulations to Walter for representing us as a candidate in the elections to the European Commission. You will represent us very well. We are in a moment of exception. The eco-social crisis and the challenges it represents to guarantee the life and rights of the young generations, the advance of the extreme right and its hate and its narrow policies in which there is no room for anyone, the loss of rights of the working class due to austerity policies, or the consequences of the energy crisis and inflation. The demolition of the international consensus created after the Second World War, largely thanks to the anti-fascist struggle. Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people is the culmination of this destruction of the framework of human rights. For this reason, the biggest struggles that are taking place at the moment have a lot to do with European policies and mark the way for the left. They show us that it's possible to build an alternative to this, with concrete issues such as promoting our primary sector and ending the proliferation of free trade agreements. Climate policies that impact on structural elements. This is anti-capitalist policies to plant production. Ensuring our sexual and reproductive rights throughout the continent. Standing up strongly for human rights. The Europe we are proud of, built by decades of working class struggle, it's under attack by the far right and a neoliberal establishment that are increasingly difficult to distinguish. We have a historic mission as left. We have to be a bloc against barbarism. We have a collective responsibility to look to our horizon, to organize the alternative, and above all to give hope. Because there is another way of doing things. And that is why this campaign is not just about getting good electoral results. It must also be a step towards building a European movement capable of fighting that battle. Unity and radicalism around concrete struggles to build this front. We must value the role of our party members and activists in this process and build a left that is open to what is happening in society. Dear friends, dear comrades, we have important months ahead of us to spread our program, to convince of our alternative, and to fill our streets with revolutionary joy.
Oh,
Thank
bravo.
you so much. Arriba las que luchan.
Bravo, Sira. This is the power that we need to go, to kick off, to start our common fight. But then now, yes, of course, Walter, it's again your turn. Yeah? You've seen and heard so many inspirations, ideas, motivational speakers for your path as the lead candidate. So I will give you the floor for the conclusion of this event.
Dear comrades and friends, what remains to conclude after this amazing series of speeches, as you said, inspiring speeches, which showed the complexity of the challenge ahead of the left in Europe, but at the same time, the variety of possibilities. And there are possibilities. I want to use these concluding remarks to thank everybody who have contributed to this amazing event. The guests who have addressed us here, the colleagues and comrades from Levica who host this wonderful event, then the comms colleagues who are staging the event from the Levica and also from the European Left Party. Nothing would have happened without their help and their commitment. Let me finish with two political remarks. The one political remark refer to the poster which you see in our background, the pigeons, the symbol of freedom. The colleague from the European Trade Union Confederations mentioned Willy Brandt and quoted him. I also want to quote him by saying, peace is not everything, but without peace, everything is nothing. And this is on the one side. It is serious, we are in a risky and in a dangerous situation, but at the same time it relates also to our electoral campaign. The European Left Party is a party of peace. Stop the wars. Stop the wars in the Ukraine, stop the wars in Israel, stop the 22 wars which are simultaneously taking place on Earth. And the second remark refers to something which is a variation of a classical quote. I would like to say, the left united will never be defeated. Indeed, we need unity. And the campaign of the European Left Party will be dedicated to the unity of the left. We will defend the unity of the left. We will argue in favor of the unity of the left. Because our responsibility in the face of the rise of the far right is to be and to stay united. And this is something our party and our parties stand for. Finally, dear comrades and friends, this is a kickoff event. Now it's about doing something, working something, creating a wonderful and a powerful campaign, and I am sure that by doing so, we will achieve successes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's talk, yes. Great. Oh, bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao. I totally agree. Ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Woohoo! Bravo! That's the energy we want. Thank you so much, everyone. And peace is our victory. Thank you. And now some food for the body as well, please. Thank you.